He'll never know.
Well, we won't let him where he can talk back to us. We can talk all kinds of garbage about him.
Did you see the shirt he was wearing? I can't believe he's wearing that today.
Yeah, I kind of looked. Jeez, I should have dressed a little better today.
Mike, you've got better hair than he does today.
I rented it.
All right. Mike, Mike, you ready?
The unit is self-contained with its own saddler, farrier, wheelwright, and so on. It's a rigorous training dished on who know all there is to know about horses, and it brings results.
We take you behind the scenes now to show just some of the interesting aspects of this training.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the #1 podcast to create sound of horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF 1 accreditation. On this week's show, in the studio, we have a retired farrier by the name of Derek Poupard, the inventor of the Quick Shoe, which is now the A Hoof, and also 3D pads. All this and much more we discuss here on Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. And over to my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. So how was your Thanksgiving, Mike? Everything go okay? Did you burn the turkey? Did was the stuffing dry?
Well,
yeah, careful. Your wife listens to this show.
I did not do a turkey. I did do some pork the other day. I did 5 Boston butts.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
And you made pulled pork with that?
Yes.
Is that what you brought me in the bag out
Yes.
there? Oh my God, I can't wait for that. As if I needed more stuff. I mean, I've been on that diet for a while, and I don't think.
Well, seafood diet.
Oh yeah, seafood diet. It's not working for me right now.
Right. Yep.
So, Mike, I was telling you that my wife got a new saddle, right? And she was so excited. And then her feelings or her emotions went just right down the hill because it was caught in customs. Because it's a drench saddle. I forget what they call it.
Yeah.
It comes from Germany. So it was stuck in customs, I guess, for whatever reason. They're afraid that mites or something would be hidden in the flocking and stuff. Finally, it got here.
Right.
My wife went out this past Saturday to meet with the Dresch person, the saddle fitter.
Right.
And hold on, I'm going to switch screens here. Now, don't forget, for every podcast we do, we have a matching video. You can see this over on YouTube as well. Me waving to Mike waving to me, and all the little things that go on here in the studio. And we're going to have Derek Poupard here in just one sec. So now's a great chance to go over to YouTube and jump online right there. So I'm going to switch cameras here. I'm going to share my screen. Make sure I can do this right. I'm going to share my screen. Nope, I don't want to invite guests. I want to share my screen. And what I'm going to show you, Mike, is... Where am I at?
Where is it?
I'm right here.
There it is.
So this is the screen I want to show. So I'm going to share the screen right here. So this is her new saddle.
Yes.
What do you think? Does it look cool?
It looks cool.
It looks like a saddle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. It looks like a vintage Corvette. And the reason why I say that, Mike, do you see this little red striping right here on the back?
Right.
Is that the back? Yeah, that's the back, I guess. And the little red striping.
Stripe on the front, yes.
And stripe on the front. And then you go...
A vintage Corvette saddle or a vintage Corvette car?
Corvette, no, like a car. And then you got the back of this here, and it's got this nice red pinstriping across the back. And look at all these little things on the back.
Or are those like LED lights that come on?
I don't think they're LED lights, but they've been blinged out. They've been bedazzled, I guess is what I'm saying. Do you see all that right there?
Yes.
And then she's like, oh, isn't that so cool? And then here's the other side. You can see the red pinstriping a little bit better on that.
Right. Your lighting's better from this side, yeah.
Yeah. So this is her brand new saddle.
Right.
This is the first time she's ever had a brand new quote unquote saddle. And I said, okay, so what's the damage on this saddle? She's like, well, here's where she goes. The representative had to come out, and she puts the saddle on, and it stretches the tree out, so the tree has to fit, and we had to do extra. And I'm like, okay, babe, how much was the saddle? And then we put it on Dominique, and it fit kind of funny, so I didn't realize I was sitting forward. Babe, how much was the saddle? $7,500. I said, oh my God, $7,500 for this saddle.
You caught it cheap.
But I did because she had...
I've known people to go quite a bit more.
She's got... Yeah, I'm sure this is probably the low end, but for us, this is high end. And this saddle right here is new, and she had a dredge saddle before. And they gave her a 70% credit 70%. I forget how much. So it ended up costing us only like $3,200. I know the math is not right there. I don't understand it either. It's like when you have a brand new car and you go trade it in for another brand new car. Somehow it's only your car's only worth like $2,000 or something stupid like that.
Right.
So this is what she's got here, and this is her brand new saddle. She's ready to ride it. She rode the other day. It worked good. She was saying about flocking. They're doing a different kind of flocking in this material that on this saddle.
Right.
Now, you were talking about Ray Morris brought in like his own special wool or anything like that. And then we were talking about foam. Let me switch back to the other cameras here so they can stop looking at my wife's saddle. And then we were talking about using foam. I said, why don't they use foam? Well, she explained to me after listening to the show, you can use foam,
right?
But you end up ripping it all out because the sweat of the horse actually eats that foam up. Because what did Eric say about when horses sweat? It's super duper hypotoxic sweat that they have that come out of a horse's body. It's twice the amount of sweat as a regular human does, and that penetrates foam and actually eats foam down, so they don't use the foam as much.
And usually if you see foam, it's on your lesser expensive saddles.
You're right, exactly. So whatever stuffing that she's got in there, speaking of Thanksgiving, she's got some sausage and turkey stuffing and all that in her saddle.
I've pulled stuff out of old saddles that look like scraps from your old socks and everything else in them,
like carpet, carpet pieces.
It's amazing what you can find in some of these old saddles.
So she's got a brand new saddle, and if you follow us through the Equine Dynamics multiverse here, I'll give you the update as far as whether she's continuing to like it or not like it at all. All right, guys, stick around when we come back. Lots to get into. We're going to talk to Derek Poupard, a retired farrier of over 40 years and an inventor of the quick shoe, which is now A Hoof, and also 3D pads as well. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. All right, let's bring him on.
Oh, jeez.
Drag him in here.
There he is.
Hold on one second. I gotta turn you up here.
One problem we had with Michael Stewart was getting him to talk. Getting him to open up and talk. Have you ever noticed that about him?
Michael, no, never. Yeah. Michael can talk, that's for sure.
Right.
You know what he gave me? He gave me one of these. This is my drink coaster. I put my drinks on it.
Did he come to your studio, or did you do him
like we're doing?
Well?
Yeah, same way, like we're doing here.
Okay.
The last gentleman we had in our studio was Eric
Shoup from Purina.
Yep, from Purina. So if you want to check out that, that was an interesting show about all the diet and what horses actually need to eat in order just to maintain a regular diet like you and I or everyone else.
Brilliant.
All right. Mike, you ready?
Yes, I am.
Derek, you ready?
I'm good, yep.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. If you have a question for Mike Stine, the way you get those questions in is to go over to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says contact us. Ask him a question in there. If we read it on the air or if Mike answers it, well, he will answer it. It's not that if or what. He's going to answer that thing. Make sure you put a return address and we'll send you out a prize pack as well. We got a bunch of magnets, some stickers, some keychains, some buttons, just in time for your holiday stocking stuffers. So get those questions in and we'll read them here on the air. And over to my far hand side is Mike Stine. How are you?
How are you, Derek?
And joining us here in the studio is Derek Poupard, all the way from, you said, Sarasota, Florida?
That's correct.
Mike, how come you get all these people that are living down in Florida? Well, meanwhile, we're freezing up here in North Carolina.
Right.
Why can't we go to Derek's house and do this show?
Well, we could, but he's got the Florida accent. You don't.
Yeah. What part of Florida are you from with that accent?
Oh man, it's a mixture. It's South African / Dubai / England / America. So yeah.
Well, there you go.
It's very confusing, even myself.
It's a Heinz of 57 of languages. So Derek, tell us how you got started in this crazy world of equine business and shoeing horses.
I think I was born into it. My mum. I mean, we rode horses. I rode horses probably before I could walk. So it was just one of those natural things. And then I think I was probably 14 and the local farrier came around to do our horses. And I said to Ma, can I come around and come around with you? And then that started from then. So I started trimming horses probably at 15. I had my own little route going on my bicycle. But that was it. That's what I wanted to be.
I think we've heard that story before with Dr. Stewart. Didn't he say he was the only one in the family that could shoe horses, and because everyone else, his grandfather had a horse, he became popular, and the kid next door does the family next door in the neighborhood. Yeah. So Derek, you followed the same path?
I did, yeah. And then of course, in South Africa we had to go to the military when you finished high school. So I actually went into the military as a farrier. I didn't see a horse. I did all the technical stuff. But it was the day I came out the army. I signed up with a master farrier and then just carried on shooting horses.
Right. Did you do a lot of work on family horses? Relatives?
I did, absolutely.
Did you get paid?
Yeah, they were my guinea pigs.
Yes, I understand that. But did you get paid?
Oh goodness, no.
Oh yeah, good. We got the same pay scale from them then.
So my question with you, Mike, and something that we lean on heavily here on Equine Dynamics is furthering education. Now, you say you've been in it for 40 years. I know guys that have been doing stuff, no matter what field it is, for 40 years, and then you look at them and you're like going, no, you've got 1 year of education. You've just been doing it for the same thing for 39 years. So tell us like your educational background as far as furthering your education and how, that led you to keep continuing to progress and shoeing horses?
To be honest with you, shooting in South Africa, it was a trade. So we learned from as an apprentice, you learned the trade, but there was no examination as far as that's concerned. And then I came over to America in 1996 and then pursued, and I've been shooting probably 13, 14 years by that stage, and decided then I was going to further my education and become a journeyman farrier. And trust me, that was hard. I'd never forged a shoe in my life, because I'd been plating race horses my whole life. Everything was done cold. So I had to come out here and start all over again. So I think I've never stopped educating myself as far as that's concerned. And I would say I know more now in the last 4 years than I did in the previous 36 years, because I think we've now finally come to understand how it all works as far as the foot mechanics, biomechanics, biohydraulics, as Michael Stewart would say. But I think we're learning a lot more today, and the horses are benefiting from that. So no, education has been all the way through to continue.
Now, is that a common practice in South Africa to not forge at all and you do everything cold, or is it just the field that you were in doing the race horses?
It was the field I was doing in the racehorses, but back in South Africa, we didn't have any certification back then. You never actually qualified as a farrier. It's changed completely today. Robbie Miller has now got FITS exams. He's doing the DIP W down there. They've really progressed it, and they're doing a lot of forging. But when I was started out, we were plating racehorses, because racehorses made up 95% of the horses in South Africa. Even all the show jumpers, polo horses, everything were existing racehorses, because racing was quite big out there.
Now, in any professionalism, you have, this person or this group of people influences this group of people, and so on and so forth. So because of we do a lot of forging here in the United States, are you seeing that we're influencing more forging in other countries? Now, you said you've lived in like 15 other countries, because you got 42 different languages that you speak. Do you see us as a United States, because we're number one, of course, you always think United States number one, but are you seeing that the United States has more influence because we're furthering education, and the other countries are kind of taking that and going, hey, look, they're doing this right. Let's adapt that into our, incorporation as far as what we do here in our countries?
Well, if we go on that route, I mean, England is probably the strongest as far as your certification goes, right? Because you cannot show a horse without certification in England. But I think that's also it's not good in a way, because there's no free enterprise. As far as so you're going to have 3,500 farriers all with the same certification or qualification. So your price scale is going to be the same for all of those farriers. There's very little fluctuation. Whereas in America, the people that want to pursue a higher education tend to charge more money, and there's a huge discrepancy between the smallest and the highest amount charged in America. And I think America's brilliant for that, because you'll get farriers charging up to $1,000 to shoe a horse, and you'll also get guys in America charging $50 to shoe a horse. You won't find that anywhere else in the world. So if you prepare to further your education, become great at what you become, America's the only place in the world to be.
I think we have a phrase that's called the American dream.
100%.
Yeah.
And I promise you, the day I walked into America, because I was talked into coming to the Farriers Convention in 1995 by Steve O'Grady, and I went to Portland, Oregon, and I promise you, and I walked in there, and you can actually feel that America is the land of opportunity. And it just blew me away. And I think that, I had to come out. I've never traveled out of South Africa before then. And that was it.
Uh-oh, we lost him. All right, well, stick around. When we come back, we're going to dive into Derek Poupard's invention of the quick shoe and what's it become today. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back.
I didn't hit the toilet handle.
No, he did.
Yeah.
There he is.
Okay, I don't know what happened there.
He went away. He's back.
Your computer had a hiccup because your thing froze and your screen flipped, and then you went away. See you later.
Oh, hang on. I'll tell you what, I might be on a VPN here. Let me just drop it off that VPN.
Oh, all right.
That might be what the problem is. VPN.
Oh, there he goes. What it was, Mike, is he was talking about England was number one. Hold on, let me bring him back on. So I have a theory, Derek. So what happened was you were talking about England was number one as far as certification, and then all of a sudden you were like, and America land of the free. Someone got a hold of that. They're already listening. You said asked if we live stream. Do we really not live stream? Is someone really listening to us? Everyone give us anyway.
I kind of think at this point there's so many people that are going back and forth between. I know I've met a lot of people from different parts of Europe, and even South America, you name it. Like the Hoof Care Summit, they're from around the world, and we got people sharing from around the world. So it's not just the U.S. that's pushing this thing forward; it's really moving in a lot of countries, and everybody's doing something a little different, and we're learning from each other.
Absolutely, and I think that's where the Hoof Care Summit. It's all about the horse. It's all about how that works. Whereas I feel that the forging, I think you need to know it, but it's not the be end all. To be honest with you, I never forged a shoe until after I passed my exam, because there's perfect shoes out there. You don't need to spend the energy to actually to make the shoe. In my opinion, that is.
Well, no, you don't really, unless you want to. But
exactly.
Occasionally, of course, there's so many things made now that it's there's not. About the last thing I turned was a bunch of baby plates years ago, and I've still got some of them.
All right, hold on, guys. We're not on the air yet, by the way. Just to let you know. Save the juice. Save the juice. All right, you ready? Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine.
Yes.
Derek, you ready? All right.
Yep.
Yes. I forgot what I was going to say. Talking about professionalism. Make sure you follow us over on YouTube. That's what I was going to say. Make sure you follow us over on YouTube, and you can see all the stuff and the action that happens during the show and in between the takes and stuff that we have here on the podcast. Go to YouTube, subscribe to Mike Stine, Equine Dynamics. He'd appreciate that very much. And put a comment out there. Mike, we do have a couple, not many, but we got a couple Dover saddle.
Got a couple left.
Got a couple left there. So if you comment on some of the videos and stuff, and make sure you follow them on Facebook as well, and put some comments out there, I'll reach out to you, get your address and stuff, and we'll mail these out to you just in time, like I said, for the holiday season. And over to my far hand side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. And joining us in the studio is Derek Poupard.
With his Florida accent.
Retired farrier of 40 some odd years, living in several different countries, and giving us the knowledge of what he's learned during this process. So you were down in South Africa. You studied on and off, family and friends and stuff, and learning by just happenstance for the last 12 years. Came to America, got your certification, got your, did some more diving in. You started forging. Are you getting a hang of the forging? Do you enjoy the forging, or are you just like going, because there's so many things out on the market that, they're kind of plug and play. Oh, you've got this problem. This is what you need. But that shoe itself probably costs, $50, $60. I don't know what the prices of shoe cost as to if you were to forge something.
But to be honest with you, I forged because it was the route to get my certified journeyman farrier. And you had to forge hundreds of bar shoes. You had to forge hundreds of shoes to get there, because and that's it. But once I've done that, I think it was I would say probably the last time I actually made a horseshoe. You'll use the heat to modify existing shoes out in the market, but to hand make a shoe it was past it by then.
Now, one of the things you said is that was you were making the shoes. You are what they consider the inventor of the quick shoe, which is now they've changed the name. You've got a company that you've worked with, and now it's called A Hoof. Tell us how you came up with the quick shoe and what's happening with it now.
Well, to be honest with you, I've always been an inventor. Probably since I was about 18 years old, I'd always wake up in the middle of the night and go, "Oh, this is a good idea," and then write it down, and off you go. So I've had lots of failures. But I was in Dubai, and we some of the racehorses there had really bad feet because of the high humidity, far too much moisture. You'd go for a walk, they'd come back, they'd wash them, so you almost became dry rot in the horse's foot. So I started making a mold to put around the horse's foot and inject a urethane into the mold, which would create the horseshoe, which is attached straight to the horse's foot. I thought I was going to be a billionaire after all this, to be honest with you, because there's so many horses in the world, but it just wasn't functional for the horse racing industry because unfortunately urethane becomes very rigid and it never stops curing. So I did find that was an issue. I tried to find urethane all over the world. So I sold the concept on to a company and they renamed it A Hoof. And they've got, to be honest with you, they've put a lot of money into it and they've actually progressed it incredibly compared to where I was right at the beginning. I was having silicone molds made in India, and I was actually invited to AAEP in 2010 to lecture on it because it was a new innovation out there, which was quite an honor for me. But it was just part of the process of I'm trying to help horses become faster, sounder. That's probably all sounder, faster horses is what I like to look at it. So that's where I was then.
Now, do you still have a vested interest in the A Hoof company? So you have no. Okay, no time.
Not for the last 8 years.
Okay.
It was my idea that they progressed and really made it a lot better than what I had.
So they have actually somewhat improved it.
Oh, absolutely.
Now
they put a mesh inside. They've got they really have improved it a lot.
Now the company that buys it, usually when a company buys a product such as a new thing for them, they don't have anything else in their catalog that's like that. Is this the only thing that they have in their catalog, or do they have other things in their catalog that work as well?
No, that's it. They've just taken this and they've got different variations of different shoes that go into it. So that's all they've got.
Now I see on your shirt there, I know it's written backwards, but it says 3D. Am I reading that right, or?
That is correct. 3D hoof care.
All right. So explain that there.
All right. So basically, I was working in Dubai and I was working in the United Kingdom because I worked for a company called Godolphin, which is Sheikh Mohammed, the ruler of Dubai's premier horse racing division. So we'd take all our horses from the UK that were totally overshod because the environment there is tar roads or asphalt roads, and they'd wear their shoes out, and it was a hard season for them. And then we'd take them through to Dubai for the racing carnival. And about 5 years ago, I started taking their shoes off and trimming them. I'd put a hoof cast on to stabilize the foot when it first got there. The chap called Declan Cronin actually gave me all the insight onto how to make this work. He's still in Dubai now. He's a really, really clever farrier. And he actually helped us when I wasn't there. He would cover for me. And what we did is we transformed the horses to barefoot from being shod, and the feet changed so quickly. It was immediate. I could see the difference in them. But it's all environmentally driven because in Dubai, if you see that, if we got there, there's no asphalt. It was just sand because we were out in the middle of the desert. So it's very, very much environmental. And the minute after 3 months of having no shoes on, all of a sudden, I've no longer got sore heels. I've no longer got dropped pasterns. It's just incredible how the foot transformed itself. And then if you looked at it barefoot on asphalt that was wet, you could see the reason it happened was that there was no more peripheral load. The frog actually takes weight and is designed to take weight. So that's when I decided to start learning how to draft and design. So I've got an iPad and a pencil and started designing a pad. And initially I was casting them on, but I started with that. And then I had a 3D printer in my apartment in Dubai that I was 3D printing all my little projects I was working on. And eventually it's the progression from the start to actually being on a worldwide market. I mean, we're on every country in the world because Jim Blurton took it over, injection molding it. But it was incredible how quickly it progressed from the designing in Dubai to being in the world market, because it sound of horses. It just made horses sound.
So this is your normal occupation that you do now. Are you a consultant? Or are you actually still involved with the 3D printing? And one more, and a side note, what's from stopping me with my little 3D printer that I have over here that I make little kids' toys? You know, from me doing a pad or something like that, what makes your hoof pad stand out rather than I can make it here at home?
You can make it at home. It's the material. You know,
okay.
When I was 3D printing it, I was 3D printing out of nylon carbon fiber, which is probably the strongest filament you can work with, but it still fails because of the method of making it compared to injection molding. But for prototyping and for testing, you cannot beat it. I mean, imagine if you can design, which I did, I would 3D print and then apply it the next day. If it failed, if I wasn't happy with it, I could redo it the same day and I'll have another prototype the next day. So you can imagine now after 30 days, you've got 30 different prototypes that you've been through. And that's why it worked very, very quickly to get to market, because I was able to do all three processes.
So, Mike, on your truck out there,
right?
Your big old rig that you had problems driving here this morning because you couldn't get the glow plugs to fire up.
I'm learning about being a diesel mechanic.
So what you need to do now is go get your computer engineering degree,
right?
And get a 3D printer and strap it to the back of that big old metal box that you got out there,
right?
And you can just sit there and type a few keywords, print out a shoe, slap it on the horse, you're good to go. You don't have to bang your fingers up. You don't have to sit there in that heating forge that you got on the back. And see, Derek's got the right idea. Let me see your hands, Derek. Let me see your hands.
They smooth and
see, look out. He's got a nice manicure going on. There's your.
But to be honest with you, it takes 4 hours to print a pad. So that's the problem now. I know there's a chap in England called Calvin Lama who's actually he's printing shoes now and like a squish pad, but I think he's taking an hour to print, which is a huge. It's evolving very, very quickly. I think it's going to keep evolving.
Is it the printer that's making it faster, or the design that's making it faster?
No, the printer.
The printer's making it faster.
The printers are just advancing, leaps and bounds. Yeah.
And there's no give as far as you're not losing anything in the transition going from a 4-hour print as to a 1-hour print, because you were talking about the material not being as strong as it should be.
But I think it's the materials that are advancing at the same speed as the printers are.
Okay, so
it all depends on how quickly they can lay it down, because it's all done in layers. And it's all 0.02 millimeters of a layer that they've got to lay down, and it's like 10,000 layers to make a pad or a shoe. So it's quite complicated.
Imagine what's going to happen in the next 5 years.
Oh, it's going to. Well, that's the thing, is I do think. The game is going to change. I think there's going to be a lot more shoes put on with glues compared to nailing. I think that's a no-brainer in my opinion, because and also the peripheral load of horseshoes is going to go. The open-heeled shoe has been proven to hurt horses in harsh environments. I'm talking about environmentally, and owners are the ones that have driven my product to be successful. Mark, have you got 3D pads in your truck, Mark?
Yes, I do, and the local shop here sells them.
Yeah.
But the local shop doesn't print them out there. He gets them from somewhere else. He gets them from Derek, is where he gets them from.
No, we actually injection mold. We injection mold one of the designs right here in Sarasota, and then we've also got in Wales, because Jim Blurton was the one that came to me, because I was 3D printing them, and I just couldn't. I had 12 3D printers going, and I couldn't keep up with demand. And then Jim came and said, right, I'll start injection molding them. And from the day we injection molded, because the material that we've got this pad is just incredible. I mean, Jim's actually reset it on one of his horses 8 times, which shows that it becomes cost effective if you can use the same pad or shoe over and over again, because then you can charge the same each time you put it on. So that's the key, I think, is the material that we make it out of is really durable.
I believe there's a rule out there called the Anderson rule that deals with technology, and every 18 months, whatever was made now, 18 months from now will be obsolete.
Right.
And I think that's the way, technology is going. The horseshoeing business, I mean, you still see guys swinging a hammer. I mean, Mike's that hammer swinger out there. He's the one beating on the thing. He's the one putting the nails on and trying to bend and squish and do all this stuff. I think the 3D printing is coming into the field a little bit better and being used or being, readily available now than it has been before. And just think, I said 5 years, and I was thinking about, well, what about, 18 months from now and another 18 months from there?
Well, it's changing, and I do some adhesives. I glue some shoes on. I wonder about what's happening with some people's skills. A few weeks ago, I had a situation where someone said, "This horse, there's no way to nail a shoe on it," and I looked at the foot and I said, "Well, yeah, sure." And I went and nailed one on it and said, "It won't stay." I'm like, we're getting ready to redo the horse this week, and it's solid. But I think that some things that we used to have to figure out how to do is some of those skills are slipping a bit because there's so many things made to do it with.
It's kind of like cursive writing. We don't use cursive writing anymore, and that was taught in primary school. So, it's technology and stuff was going on. What were you going to say, Derek?
I'm just going to say, I agree with you completely there, Mark. I think there's a lot of shortcuts being made, and the guys don't have the skill set to actually use those shortcuts. And that's where we actually need to change our whole concept of our mental concept of training,
right?
And going forward with this. And I think I feel very strongly about that.
Yeah, that is the one thing that concerns me. Well, And I think that there are plenty of applications where gluing is good, and I use it, but there are also times where if we can do this, we can skip developing the skill, and that's the one thing that concerns me about it.
Yeah.
Because, back when you started and we started, if you had a bad-footed horse, you got something on there and you got it done, right?
We did. And I know, and also I've got my own brand of hoof cast, which I developed purely for the racing industry, because a lot of times I had nothing to nail to. I'll build up the false wall with a hoof cast, but make it part of the wall and function as part of the wall, and that it did stand me in good stead, because in racing it's all about getting a horse to a race, and we're talking about $1 million races, so you make sure there are no mistakes to be made. So that was part of my development process as well.
Before I ever saw a hoof cast, I was using pieces of fiberglass, auto body fiberglass, and a little bit of acrylic patching areas where the foot was below the part, so I have something solid enough to nail to, right?
Absolutely. That's how it all started.
Right.
They say, invention is just the need for to get something done. I mean, it just through necessity.
Yes.
All right, guys, stick around. When we come back, we're going to talk about bringing the barefoot into the farrier community and how to make them, certified, and all the things that we need to do to help those people as well. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. I don't know what I said there, but I hope that made sense there, Derek.
We'll make it make sense. Even if it's wrong, we'll do it. We just say and act like it's right with you.
I just kind of read the text message real quick. I'm like, what was the other thing he was talking about? Oh, he was talking about this. Oh, shoot. Well, how do I fix that?
Well, actually, to be fair, it's rolling on very nicely from where we headed, from where we've just come from. So I think it worked out very well.
Oh, there you go. So it'll all come full circle.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
We'll do something even if it's wrong.
if I can't figure it out, I'll just cut it out. I'll just edit it off.
This fellow I used to work with a long time. There's two ways to do things here around here. There's the right way, and then there's our way.
Yeah. All right. Make sure we're going good here. Boop. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Make sure you follow him over on Facebook. The way you do that is go to Facebook, search equinedynamics.com. Were you able to talk to your office manager and do I need to fill out a form or request form?
I've got to set up appointments to get to my office manager myself.
It's your office manager. You should.
You'd think.
Well, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get your Facebook and your YouTube page all on your equinedynamics.com page. That way I don't have to send them here.
I think that's on the schedule for this week.
All right. Well,
the office manager had this huge paid vacation that I have to pay for, went halfway around the world.
Well, I'll follow up with her with an email and triplicate.
Okay.
Excuse me. Going down the wrong pipe. And over to my far hand side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
And joining us here in the studio, we have Derek Poupard, a retired farrier of over 45 years, and has. Is it safe to say that you have shoed horses in over 4 countries or more than that?
Professionally in 4 countries, but I mean, I think I've been to France to do a horse. I've been to Germany to do a horse. They flew me out to Hong Kong to do a horse. Yeah, the company I was with flew me out to go and do certain horses at certain times. Professionally, 4 countries.
And Derek is the inventor of the Quick Shoe, which is now called the A Hoof, and also he was the one who kind of pushed this whole 3D printing for pads and shoes for horses. And thank you for joining us, Derek.
My pleasure.
And so now we're going to talk about, you wrote me a text message saying that, you feel strongly about barefooters in the farrier trade and with some sort of trim and composite shoe application certification. Tell me about that text message you sent me and what you were referring to.
Well, I think Mark actually nailed it on the head earlier when he said that there's guys applying shoes or gluing shoes on horses that have got no official certification as far as I'm concerned, and it's all a bit of guesswork. So I think 2 years ago I did a clinic up at New Hampshire at Alicia Harlow's, and there were 65 attendees. 60 of them were barefoot woman trimmers, and they are in a totally different league to the journeyman farriers, the certified farriers, the guys nailing shoes on. But there are so many of them out there all over the world that I think it's very important that we need to actually get them all of us on the same wavelength as far as how to trim a horse, the anatomy side of things, and how to apply synthetic shoes, hoof casting, all of that sort of stuff. And I do think that if we created some sort of program to bring them on board, because there's more and more of them coming on board than there are farriers, because there are more and more barefoot horses out there than shod horses. So I just think it's important that if we don't do that, there's such a big divide between the two that we need to try and narrow that down.
And there really should not be, because we started trimming. First ones I ever did, we trimmed.
Yeah, exactly. Every one of us as farriers trim horses, but it's not our speciality, or it's not our only source of income.
Right.
Whereas the barefoot trimmers, especially if you take the United Kingdom, for example, they cannot apply a shoe or anything onto that horse's foot unless they've got a DIP W, which is a 4-year apprenticeship making horseshoes. So I think that needs to change as well, because I think we need to address that.
Even early on for me, there were times I tried to get people to barefoot horses way before this was a popular thing to do, because my skills were not where they needed to be, and I didn't know how to get to happen what I can now.
Yep.
Derek, why do you think we can't do? Why can't you think? Hold on, let me rephrase the question here. Let me gather my thoughts. I was over here dying a minute ago. So what do you think? I mean, you say when you came here to the United States, you're like, this is great. Everyone's got furthering education, but here we still lack the group effort, as to like you were talking about over in England. There's a group effort. Hey, you cannot do A, B, and C unless you've got X, Y, and Z. Now here in the United States, I go through all the different Facebook feeds when I post the podcasts on there, and you've got the North Carolina Association of Farriers, you got the South Carolina, you got the Denmark, you got not Denmark, North Dakota, South Dakota. There are all these factions that are all over the place. How come we don't have something across the whole United States? If I wanted to be a podiatrist, I still have to go to some sort of podiatry school. If I want to be an eye doctor, I got to go to some eye doctor school. It's not like I'm just got the little group of people. Why do you think the United States is so hard getting everyone on the same page as to, over in England, where it's a little bit more, across the board?
Well, in England, it's the law. That's the first thing. If it's the law, it has to happen.
Right.
Whereas in America, there is no law.
Why do you think there is no law here in the United States? Because we're still dealing. I mean, I can't be a veteran or a veterinarian. I can't be a veteran either. I can't be a veterinarian without, there are laws that prevent me from doing that. So, absolutely. And you guys, not that you're veterinarians, but you work hand in hand with a veterinarian. There's got to be something that we need to do, or why can't we do it?
Absolutely, and I don't think it's ever going to happen in this country, because it's just too big. I think there's only 15 million horses or something ridiculous like that.
All? It's kind of like trying to herd cats.
That's it. It's impossible. I don't think it's ever going to happen. It's too big for a start. And also, at the moment, we've got the American Farriers Association. We've got we've got
IPF. There's several deals going out there. Yeah.
Yeah, but and so it's very fractured. And we need to have some sort of, and then we've got the whole barefooters, and there's probably about 4 different barefooting groups that all got their own eth.
Or at least, if not more.
Exactly. They're all, everyone's on a different wavelength. Whereas they should put all that aside and say it's the horse first. It's the horse and the owner first, because the owner pays the bills, and the horse is the key to everything. So that's where I think we should be looking at. We should be looking at educating owners.
Well, exactly. And the owners, if the more the owners demand it, the more farriers will have to, or they need to go do something else.
Now, I am a horse owner. My wife rides. We have 3 horses here. How do I know if I demand, like Mike, you say, the horse owners need to demand it? Well, that's kind of the premise of this whole entire podcast, the whole series, that we want to educate owners, trainers, and farriers all alike, and riders. So if I'm a horse owner, and if Mike comes up to me, he goes, well, I'm part of the IAPF. And I'm like, okay. And then, Derek comes over and he goes, hey, I'm part of the NCAA MVP. And I'm like going, well, I don't know heads from tails over there. Why would I don't understand that. And then also on the flip side of that, if I'm a brand new farrier coming out and I got Mike over here wanting me to join his Teamsters union over there, and then I've got Derek over here who wants me to join, his occupational collection of people over there. And, he believes in foraging. Mike believes in, not doing anything with the horse, just let the horse be. I mean, it's
run down the railroad track. That'll fix it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so willy-nilly. I agree with you, Mike, when you say, yes, let the owners demand it, but how do the owners know what to demand?
Mike, you can answer.
If they don't know. They need to.
I stumped them.
Yes. No, that's where there's more stuff out there as far as education than ever. There's some really bad stuff out there, and I'll tell you, you know Dave Nichols from England, correct?
I do. Yep.
Yeah, I had a good little chat several years ago with Dave, and he said the problem is with the English system, and Dave's been there for a day or two, and he said that we can't be innovative. He said, you guys get to be innovative and figure things out and prove things. And 10 years down the road, they're like, these guys are onto something. Then we have to get it approved so we can do it. So it kind of limits what we are able to do. So then, okay, if you fix it where we can't make innovations, who is carrying this thing forward to break new ground and get better at what we're doing?
Who's carrying the flag to the front of the field?
Derek is.
Absolutely. Well, I've actually spoken to the AFA chairman and the incoming chair, the chairwoman of the British Farriers Association, and brought this to their attention to say, I mean, I lectured at the AFA last week, and Axel Vibe from Norway came over, and he was the keynote speaker, and his lecture was on barefoot. The barefoot show jumpers, and and what and all the results he had with that. And he asked a question. He said, how many of you in the audience are barefoot trimmers? One hand came up.
Well, all of us should be.
And they said, shame.
Right. I mean, a large chunk of my clientele is either it's like when I had a guy that did ornamental blacksmith. He used to work for me. He asked me one day, he said, you got everything out of the back of the truck. You fire up the forge. You got this, that. You're building something. You're doing something on the back of the truck. I said, yep. Or you trim, and there's no between. He said, what happened to your basic shoeing? I said, honestly, I got most of them barefoot. But we should all be skilled barefoot trimmers to even shoe a horse.
And to be honest with you, there's some farriers that are not skilled barefoot trimmers.
Oh, you're correct. Very correct.
They're going with the sharpest knife and taking off all the protection, and wondering why the horses go sore, and they've got to put shoes back on again. So we need to actually educate everyone, as far as I'm concerned, and try and create some sort of normality or acceptable pattern that we can all go to. And it's going to take your association, the American Farriers Association, and all the barefoot associations to actually get together and say, right, this is what I'd like, and then come up with something. Because there's so many glue-on applications for barefoot horses today, boots, boot fittings, all that sort of stuff. But we need some sort of in my opinion, a certification or a standard.
I know there is been some talk back and forth with Curtis down in Florida a bit about that, and I know that we had Ian. I can't even say his last name.
You can say it. If
the red, the black and the red and blacks. Yes.
Yep.
And I've seen his and got some coaching along in his way of doing things, along with Curtis and along with whoever else down the road, and you know, don't know where any of this is going yet, but they talked about an accreditation for gluing with Curtis, but I don't think that's come together yet.
Am I wrong?
I know Curtis well, but I mean, to be honest with you, there's Garrett Ford from Easy Care. He's probably the best innovator that I've come across in the last 10 years, as far as getting something to market that's good for horses.
And Easy Care has come up with a lot of stuff the last few years. They've come a long way.
Well, I've got a few projects I'm busy working with him right now.
You're an inventor.
And it's exciting. Yeah, it is. But I mean, I'm an inventor, but he's also an innovator. But he'll take my inventions or my ideas and get it to market quicker than anyone I've ever known. And he's part of Curtis Burns. Him and Curtis are very good friends.
Right.
They've done a lot of projects together. So I do think that's probably the future of horseshoeing or hoof care, is going to be a company like that. But we do need to make sure that people know what they are doing and doing it properly.
So,
in my opinion.
So back to the horseshoe, the barefoot. I would think as a I would think that when you're a farrier, don't you just start out trimming barefoot to start? I mean, the first thing you do is you're not nailing a shoe on right away. Aren't you sitting there and you're like, the first lesson is, okay, you've got to trim this horse's foot. And you've got people that don't know how to do that are farriers now, which scares me. It's like saying, you're teaching fractions before you teach the, 1, 2, 3s.
They know how to trim a barefoot, but do they know how to trim a barefoot to make it function?
Right.
And protect it? Because we all learn. I mean, broodmares were my first thing, but I was out there with my knife and I was trimming out the sole and I was trimming out the frog and I was cutting away. But, was I making the foot functional? I don't, and I think a lot of that has been lost along the way. The basic care of horses' feet seems to be lost going forward. Do you agree with me there, Mike?
Right, I do, and I'll tell you, I've told many trimmers this, and farriers also, that I had a spell in my life for 8 or 9 years where I was working at a brood farm, and there were 200 brood mares on this place, and every other week I went there to do 40 trims every other week, and sometimes more often. And so you need to get you a big broodmare farm. And if you want to take the bars out, do this, try this, do that. You have that many of those mares with, how broodmare feet are. They'll start showing you something in a hurry. And some will like it, some won't. You start building patterns of like, you want to get serious about trimming, go work a bunch of broodmares for a while and see some of the nastiest feet you could work on. And play this game, play that game with it. They'll teach you.
And as they get heavier towards the end of their pregnancy, that you'll see everything change because weight comes into it.
Oh, exactly.
Everything is accentuated.
What generally happens when I tell a trimmer that, their eyes glaze over and they go into shock. But
no, I mean, to be honest, horses have taught me. I mean, when I was trimming horses in Dubai, and these were grade 1 race horses. These were top quality horses. I mean, I think we won 4 derbies in 1 year. That had all been trained barefoot,
right?
Which because they were sound, and that was the key to everything. It's all about horses' hoof health. That's all that breaks down to it. It's not about shoeing, not shoeing. It's all about the horses.
Well, there was one discussion I've had a couple times with someone who apprenticed with me because they're watching these videos, and on a lot of these videos, they're making the sole perfectly clean. And I want to make it, and I want to make it, and I want to make it, and I want to make it. And I'm like, that horse isn't going to be able to walk. If that horse cannot walk, you just created a problem. And if you don't have enough mass there, you got to respect mass before you go into, we're going to make everything perfect.
And it's going to you'll have to put a shoe back on it just to try and protect it, or just to try and lift that foot off the ground.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. I mean, to be fair, I've probably got the bluntest, I've said all along, I've probably got the bluntest knife in the history of farriers because I can't even cut butter with it. Because in my opinion, if you can't scrape it out, wire brush it out, or pull it off with your hoof testers or with your nippers, it doesn't deserve to come out because it's not ready to come out yet.
Right.
That's the way I look at things, because that's natural protection. A horse creates a callus. When the callus gets big enough, or it's got enough mass underneath it, it'll lose the callus that is created. And that's the frog, the sole, every part of the foot underneath there. But too many guys are out there going, oh, I'm just going to cut this out and make it look really pretty. And you know the result.
Pretty is as pretty does, right?
Exactly.
All right, guys, stick around. We're going to take a quick little break and come back with one more little segment, and we'll wrap up the show. Stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Boop.
That's good, Mike. I think I like the direction, because I think we are making people aware that there's a difference between trimming and trimming.
Yes, I hope so. And I've personally have had a few cases come in the vet clinic where someone has been naturally trimming that have been just a wreck.
Oh, gee. Well, did you ever go through the Strasser method back in the?
Oh, geez. I remember. I never went to the Strasser clinic herself, but I did run into, there was someone coming through that was a Strasser trainee that I went to a clinic back then. And you remember Henry Hammering?
Of course I did, yeah.
Yeah. Henry said, they had all these things about could cause liver failure, could cause your horse to have heart attacks. He says, if they got to have that many disclaimers, I don't think I want them doing that to my horse.
Jesus, I tell you what, and they would basically trim the heels down until it bled, and then run them on stones.
Right.
These poor bloody horses, man. I mean, seriously, that was I went through that as well.
I've had
followed up a few of those.
I've had a couple of them at the vet clinic that one of them had a big chunk out of the tip of the coffin bone that they had the heels run up to about the middle of the foot and it raped the wall off on about a 4 millimeter sole. And then here recently, the last one that was kind of a disaster, they blew the wing off. I don't know what they were doing, but they blew the wing off the coffin bone, and it was the fracture was involving the joint surface.
Oh,
and that was, but it was barefoot, so it can't have a problem, correct?
No,
but that does not get talked about.
But and then environment, and people need to recognize the environment that horses in.
Right.
If they have to change the environment if it's not working.
And there's plenty of horses out there on the other end that people are, oh my God, we trimmed all the now your horse is sore. Now we need to put shoes on it, and for what? Yeah. Because some of them, if we'd respected that sole mass and a few things, maybe it could have been just happy and fine doing its job.
And to be honest with you, that's why my 3D pad has actually gone crazy, is because it's bringing the barefoot function back into a shod foot,
right?
Which is why everyone uses it, because barefoot is best if you can. But
right.
If you can't, let's give it a bit more support. To act like a barefoot.
Well, when I went to farrier school, the guy who was the instructor, he started off, and he would do this every now and then. Shoeing horses is a necessary evil.
100%. It's probably the most apt statement out there. And I'll tell you what you want to do. You want to take a test as you stand barefoot on an open heel shoe, and you see how those heels dig into the soft flesh of your foot, and
right.
You realize how much pain these thin-soled horses go through. They are the most tolerant animals I've ever known, if you think about it. It's just ridiculous.
Yep.
All right, Mike, you ready?
Yep.
All right, Derek, you ready? Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. Make sure if you have any questions for Mike Stine, you get them over to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says contact us. Fill out that little form. Put a return address in there. We'll also send out some of these Dover Saddler gift cards that we have here. We got a couple left, just in time for your stocking stuffers.
Dover has been very, very kind to us.
Yeah, they've done us very well, so we want to make sure that we do them very well as well. And if you like Mike Stine to perform a clinic out at your location, or if you'd like us to broadcast one of these podcasts out at your location, same page, equinedynamics.com. Top of the page says clinics. Fill that out. Myself will bring this whole entire show to your location, and you can see all the fun that happens here in the studio. Make sure you follow me on YouTube as well, and you can see all the back and forth that we've been having off camera as well. There's so much information that goes on behind the scenes, so to be involved with that as well, go over to YouTube and you see all the behind the scenes and all the conversations that we're having with Mike Stine over to my far right side. And our special guest here in the studio is Derek Poupard. How are you?
Good, thank you.
You guys were going on a rant there for a little bit. I was like, that's a whole nother show in itself. You guys are talking so much.
Right.
So the question I have for you, Derek, now speaking of talking so much, is you determine where your accent's from. You hear an accent from Mike. You can tell he's from North Carolina. Can you tell my accent? Where, do I have an accent? Some people say I do. Some people say I don't have an accent.
To be honest with you, I am so bad with accents, man. Are you? I mean, I would say you're probably up north. Are you Canadian?
No. Well, I mean, I don't know if I am or not. I mean, my lineage is somewhere, but I mean, blonde hair, blue eyes. I don't know where that comes from, but no, I have a Florida accent is what I've been told.
Oh, I didn't know Florida had an accent.
I think that's what it is. Florida doesn't have an accent, so I don't have an accent, and I'm from Florida, so there you go. There you have it. All right, guys, what did we learn today? We're talking to Derek Poupard, the inventor of the quick shoe, and now Formal Hoof. Tell us briefly how you came up with the idea and where the Formal Hoof is now.
So Formal Hoof has been bought out by a company, and they're busy marketing it. On Facebook, you'll see quite a bit of stuff out there. Rob Stevenson was a farrier that bought it off me from Australia, and he really progressed it onto a whole new level compared to I was very basic when I started with it, but it wasn't in my path with racehorses, so I sold it off immediately after that.
And what did the quick shoe actually do? What was his job?
Basically, it was what it was is that a urethane shoe that applied was actually a shoe that glued directly onto the horse's foot. The resin was the shoe itself. So I basically just created a cavity to control the resin to put on a horse's foot.
And now your latest project that you've been working on are these 3D urethane injected pads. Tell us about what you got going on there.
Well, we've got these all worldwide now. Most farrier shops stock them. I've got them in a couple of different variations of degrees and different types of pads. But basically what I've done is that through the Barefoot program, I've realized that horses do need support on the frog. And this is what it's about, sharing the load across the entire foot. And all I've done is I've emulated a barefoot on a shod foot, and the results have been absolutely incredible. The feedback I've had is just, I can't explain how well it's gone.
And what's the company's name? 3D Hoof Care?
3dhoofcare.com. Yep, I've got a very good active Facebook group and on the site. And there's also jimblurton.co.uk is my worldwide distributor as well. So he's been he's the one that took on the whole project for me. And
you briefly touched on about the Barefoot Trimmers and why do you feel that the Barefoot Trimmers need to be incorporated into the shoeing of the horse farrier world?
Well, I think the associations all over the world right now are fractured between I'm going to shoe a horse and I'm going to barefoot a horse, and I'd like to make sure that we're all going towards the same goal of let's put the horse first. Don't worry about what we're trying to do. Let's put the horse first, and let's teach the guys that are trimming and that are shoeing. We're all on the same path going forward. That's there to help the horse.
And one more time for our listeners, how can our listeners reach out to Derek Poupard, and spell your last name for me as well?
So it's a Poupard, first name Derek, Derek. I'm on Facebook Messenger. I've got my 3D Hoof Care site, and anybody's welcome to get hold of me. Really, I love people actually contacting me, and I do on a regular basis to respond every day to inquiries that come through.
All right, guys. Mike, you want to add anything to that?
I think Derek's covered it pretty good.
All right. We would like to thank Derek Poupard, inventor of the quick shoe and many more other things. He's got a whole tapestry of stuff he's working on in the background there, I'm sure. We'd like to thank Derek as well for joining us here on Equine Dynamics.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Mike. Travis, lovely to meet you guys, and thank you.
My name is Travis saying see you next week.
Have a good day.
All of the doggies are in the corral. All of your